Okay. Okay.
Hold on, say something, Chris. Okay, it's moving now.
It was on the next geo.
Well, we tried that because it wasn't up before, so we tried to move
Let
it.
me go outside.
Yeah, I'll go in the other room. I've got.
Yeah, see if you can pull it in there.
I'll text you.
Okay.
Here.
Good evening. My name is Nathan Duggins. I'm an attorney with Tuggle Duggins in Greensboro. My address is 400 Bellamete Street, Suite 800 in Greensboro. With me tonight is David Allen. David, if you could raise your hand. David is part of the development team. He's going to be speaking with you just in a few minutes. John Schneck is here. He's our graphic engineer. Traffic questions. I'm going to speak to that in a second. And Alan Hill, who tried and find is here as well. Mitchell did a great job of outlining the change. This development had been approved by City Council. We thought it was 2023. I think it was 2022 when it was originally approved. And we think this is a better, improved use for this site. I want to touch on a couple of the things that Mitchell touched on as he walked through his presentation. And I'm going to let David talk to you all about the neighborhood meeting we had, because I think we got a lot of great feedback from that neighborhood meeting. Very positive. Centered around a number of things, not the least of which is traffic. As you can imagine, when you go from 217 units to 87 units, the amount of trip generation falls precipitously. So the neighbors were very excited about that. And then, of course, these are for sale units. So you're bringing buyers into the downtown community. So we're excited about that. So there was, and you saw Mitchell, let's see if I can get that site plan. Yeah, you saw Mitchell pointing out where the two retail sites are on the site plan. All the other buildings you see here are three-story townhomes. Height restriction actually came down. There were some buildings in the prior plan that were 4-story. All these buildings are going to be 3-story, about 43 feet tall. We are, and Mitchell touched on this, I think, in one of his conditions. We are, saw the fee in lieu, Mitchell, one of the, anyway, we're making a proposal, as y'all know, the public rec fee in lieu process here in Mebane. We're going to make a proposal for a fee in lieu of $100,000, which that has to be approved by city. We have some parking that we want to speak to. We have spoken with the adjacent church, and the parking requirements for the residential district are being accommodated by a lease that we're entering into with the neighboring church. So with that, I'm going to just ask. I'm going to be able to get this PowerPoint pulled up. I'm going to ask David Allen to come up and kind of walk through this PowerPoint. Obviously, if there's questions as he walks through it, please don't hesitate to stop him, or if there are any questions for me. But otherwise, I'm going to have David take the mic and walk through the PowerPoint.
Yes, sir. Well, leave this copy of actually you read it.
Okay, you read.
I can't. You can see it.
Okay.
There's a fine line of glasses where I'm back there and too far. Actually, thank y'all for giving me this time. And I'm gonna tell you what. I was told 3 years ago I thought I should have been doing townhomes. I'm just a slow learner, I guess. But thank y'all for allowing me to meet you all tonight. With the change, we decided to come up with a more vibrant type of a call for it, just the district is what we're going to call it. A vision of modern living with the charm of downtown Mebane, at the doorsteps of these residents. You go to the next. Let's tell. What's your, oh, right there. There you go. Oh, look at that. Why did we change from, well, see, it's now. Hold on a minute. Why the change from multifamily to townhomes? Cost of the construction at the time has increased 35% during this time. Growing interest rates made raising equity to build these type of units very difficult. And quite frankly, after 2.5 years of sitting on land we owned, we decided we needed to do something. And what would be a really good way to monetize, create a community, and we decided a townhome community, which we've done in the past, was created. We also knew there needed to be some more open space created. Let's see, this thing's pretty tricky. We're done. Behind the changes, there were several points I need to be just address up front. We did a little bit of a reduction in retail. Construction costs pushed rents into the upper 40s a square foot. And when I say upper 40s, I mean closer to 50 a square foot, making it a challenge for leasing and be competitive in downtown Mebane. Downtown growth, concerns for redevelopment of storefronts in the existing downtown. There's storefronts in downtown that need vitalization as well. And so we felt like cutting it back a little bit may be beneficial for all. Open space. We had ideas to create more open space. We're having a 20 by 20 gazebo and an outdoor area for the community. No, not just for the 5.76 acre community, the community of Mebane. It's not a park that's going to be run by Mebane, but it's open space to throw the football or to play with your daughters and your sons and have a good time. We do have a restaurant pad for a future restaurant for development. And then we have the 4,800 square foot building that would be built as well. The Cotton Building. Where do I start? We had grand plans for this building. Cost, safety. Essentially, that building is unsafe and it needs to come down. There's nothing holding it in place. The goal would have been, our original goal was to come in and try to put steel on the walls, on the interior to salvage it. But you would have had to go in, and it was over, I think, well over $4 or $5 million just to get it so you could use the building. That's not decoration or anything. That's just a lot of cost. It just could not, a project cannot bear. So here's what we came up with, a 3-story design, residential townhomes with 87 units. Each building is either a 5-unit building or a 6-building unit. There are 2 building types. One's 2 unit types, 2,003 square feet and 2,100 square feet. You can see that. On-site parking. Each unit will have a garage that'll park 2 cars, as well as a parking pad that'll park 2 cars behind it. We tried to marry in some of the things of Mebane. For example, the color white that's used is, we got that from your Veterans Park out there, and that color white. The color of the red that you see above the doors came from your original fire trucks. And I don't know what the gray came from, but that's okay. We tried to maintain a timeless tradition, so to speak. And I address those here. We like the warmth of stained wooden doors. Overhead, we're going to have side lights, covered entries. And you'll see a better view of what we're trying to get to here in a minute. But more of a traditional side with a classic pitch roof. Height, we addressed. If you looked around some of your buildings, you're 42 feet in one building downtown. The steeple of one of the churches is about 50 some feet. Well, this is 43 feet, 2 inches, measured to the very center at the top of the very peak of the roof. As I said, there's 3 bedrooms. The first floor, if you're looking from left to right, is your garage entry with a downstairs ensuite or a downstairs full bath and a bedroom. Second floor is living space, complete. And you'll see some of the pictures of what we've done here. It'll be great. One thing you'll notice, every one of them has an elevator shaft, and our first ones we're going to build are going to have elevators. Elevators today are not as expensive as people think. We aren't going to put them in unless people want them, but they are there to be put in, and I hope people will take advantage of them. This is going to attract young families, young couples, and those that are retired and want to be near their families here, or just want to be able to lock the door and go out of town. This is the 2,100 square foot. There's not much difference in them, except the kitchen on the 2,100 square foot is located on the front side and on the back side of the 2,003 square foot unit. What is our investment in this project? Right now, we're at $42.5 million in downtown Mebane. City and county taxes revenue will increase from what I've seen online, about $30,000 a year to over close to $400,000 a year. When it's finished, outdoor amenity space for residents and the community. You're going to have new residents living, shopping, dining in the heart of downtown Mebane. All the more attracting more and more retail to downtown. Potential new entrepreneurs moving, building their lives in downtown. This is your community, your lifestyle, which is what we're trying to create. This is the design. They call this designers. All ladies, any designers here can help me. That is not actually what it's going to look like. It's the design that we're trying to achieve. The concept. Thank you. Soft closed drawers, cabinets, classic tradition. We're going to have GE appliances with upgrades, so you can go all the way up to cafe or monogram if you'd like to be here. Early entry, if you get into 4 units built, you can either follow these upgrades and we'll have 3 or 4 different types of designs, or you can hire your own designer and we can deliver whatever they want. They can do themselves. So we had a neighborhood meeting that Nathan mentioned, and the feedback we received from the neighborhood was a couple of, I just quoted a few people, I'm not going to put names, but the latest design does not have a nod to Mebane and fits much better. It does have a nod to Mebane and fits much better than the apartments. One person asked me, why do you have 2 entrances and exits on Holt Street, which is only 3, but that's down between 2nd and 3rd Street. Well, the old design had 218 apartment units, and we only have 87 townhomes. So we've really reduced cars by about 65 or 70%. Will there be any variances required for this project? There are no variances, it's just conditions. The old project, we had a number of variances. We feel this is a much better plan and a more open plan than apartments, because I want people on Holt Street and behind to be able to walk through the neighborhood to downtown. This is not like a closed-in apartment project. This is a project for free flowing back and forth through the neighborhood. One person said they appreciated the project. It's inclusive to the entire community. And one person said, I like the park that'll be available to all the members of the community. All of that was positive feedback for us. We've gone through, this is kind of a colored design. I don't really love it a lot, but it shows the restaurant pad and the 4,800 square foot retail pad. Now that 4,800 square foot retail, that could end up being a large restaurant. We park every single unit on site. We maintain a lease with the Methodist Church because we feel like, A, there's not enough parking in downtown Mebane. And this offers an opportunity. We want people to come eat, dine, walk through the neighborhood, go see their friends, have a place to park. So this is the design from above to the bottom of the screen here, going like that is Holt Street, 3rd Street's in the middle, and Washington's up front. As you can see, there's a lot more green space than there was when there was apartments. Plenty of parking. And this is the view. This is kind of the feel that we want, and we want the members of the community to feel as well. Now, that's not the park. That's actually the out parcel, but that's okay. I just wanted to make sure I addressed that. You can see how the colors of the doors on the front and the garage doors are going to be very similar. We really want to keep that dark wood feel. We feel it just brings a little bit of warmth to the community. I think that was it.
Great.
Thank you, Will.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Just could you go back a couple of slides to the overview, down?
Yes, sir. Right there. Yeah.
Are the two green spots on the, are those what you're?
Those are the out parcels. Yes, sir. Well, the one on the,
4,800, on the right. Right there.
this is the out parcel for the restaurant. This is the 4,800 square foot building. And then here's the park right there.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the Cotton Building, I think a lot of people have an emotional attachment to it, including myself. And I feel like there's, could you just go into some more details, if only to help with the grieving process? Could you tell more about what you found with the building and the state?
Well, yeah, I mean, we can go into that. Do you want to do it? You absolutely, yeah. Got a letter, in order to upgrade it. Let's see what it just started right here.
Tell them where the letter's from.
The letter is from NV5, a structural engineering company. And they said, you know, we need to upgrade the existing floor system for 100 per square foot live load. There's no floor in it now.
Yeah, I think it's like a masonry shell.
It is a masonry shell. Got to replace the roof structure to account for past non-standard construction home built trusses. Because those were old trusses that were designed for homes, not for facilities. Let's see. Exterior masonry wall on the west side exhibits significant evidence of movement, and movement likely due to later addition on this side, which resulted in large new wall. New addition has been demolished, and it's not part of the project, but this wall would require being completely replaced, which it's got to come out. Exterior masonry wall on the south side has been significantly modified to access later additions, and it would have to be demolished, and it's not part of this project. Mainly what you have is you have eroding bricks that are just disintegrating, and you can't allow the bricks to hold the wall, the building up. You have to bring in, first of all, there's no real footers. So you got to dig footers out. You got to pour new footers and then tie in through that concrete into what's existing. and tie it in there. And then you're gonna have to erect steel to maintain that. So, because the wall, it floats, and those buildings were designed to float, but they don't float very well these days. And truthfully, you know, I just, there's not anything I can do with it to make it render useful.
What it sounds like is that like, even assuming you spent the $5 million to restore it, what you would end up with is essentially a completely new building that just has the veneer of the cotton building around it.
Yeah, I think the only thing that you could consider saying would be kind of the part where the cotton building sign was. I mean, in essence, because all of the walls are just the north wall, the south wall, the I'm sorry, the east wall, the west wall, and then the south wall are all completely, they have to be replaced. Then in order to do that, you have to bring a steel, you still have a director in here to do that. So this is just a very difficult situation. So we tried. I will tell you, we spent probably $500,000 trying.
I think, yeah, I think it was something that it was a big plus for people, you know, kind of silver lining.
It was.
You know, we're like, at least, and because Mebane in particular does suffer from, we don't have a lot of old buildings, particularly don't have a lot of 20th century buildings. And there's a real hope, you know, that it could anchor the development in a particular way. But like, there's a reason we don't.
But you know, if I may, you have an incredibly charming downtown. You walk along Clay Street and you see a lot of storefronts. But even downtown, but in talking with some of the merchants, the money is not there to revitalize the second and third floor of those buildings. And they remain vacant and they're more warehousey. You know, you look at American Tobacco and you look at Liggett Myers building in downtown Durham, what they did and how they were able to do it. Those were fortresses. Right. And, you know, I would love to see Mebane do more to incorporate the living upstairs. I'm not competing against myself, but I'm honest. How many people would love to live upstairs in one of those buildings in the community? I just think it's something that would be wonderful to see.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Great. Thanks, David. I'm gonna put the mic down and I think we had one.
Yeah, we had one person sign up and I'll hand this off to our presiding officer. But then if you are here to speak on this and you did not sign up, that of course is welcome.
Thank you. Alana Coombs, would you like to come up and speak? You've got a 3-minute time. Yeah.
Do I point to it?
Just urgent.
Okay. Okay, Alana Coombs, 205 South Wall Street. I think this is a much improved plan. I think it's more in keeping and it provides a better transition from the historic downtown to the historic residential district. But I've got a big reservation, and that is about the building. After a structural engineer's inspection, the last inspection, the developers told council that the cotton building is in great shape, flooring, decking in great shape. I'll turn now just to the conformity with the comprehensive plan. So in the executive summary, then by design, that's the pager. The growth strategy on page 2 talks of moving from conventional development to conservation development. Page 4 and 1.2 says continue to support historic downtown Mebane's culture, aesthetics. Turning to the full Mebane by design plan, under goals, there are 3 areas of policy. Page 7, preserve historic buildings for city and utilise existing structures for redevelopment and require that new structures be respectful of current architecture. Finally, goal 3.2 on page 86 notes the need for corridors to reflect Mebane's specifically charming brand. I think the demolition of the historic asset goes against all of this. I say this not as a conservationist or an architectural preservationist, but largely because of my background as a town centre manager. Character matters. Historic buildings bring character. Character is what will help businesses to thrive in the long term. We need to think beyond just the next 5 years. I'd like to offer some suggestions, and 3 are directly about planning, and 1 is more broader. So the first, the plan to be amended to reinstate historic assets, which would fit better with the downtown plan. And then I would ask you not to take these words for again, independent structural report themselves, or I think the last lot theirs. Second, to even out the additional cost, you might think about removing restaurants, without fast food chain anyway, and take business from downtown. Third, that the Cotton Building perhaps provides a relocation for farmers markets, which is currently hidden even from Clay Street on Cotton's building siting to attract traffic going down Centre Street. Finally, I encourage the City Council to get professional support and create an inventory of its historic assets as directed. I'd also add something else, how you might make these nice, some of these that. Just thank you.
Thank you very much. Would the applicant like to respond to what the commenter has pointed out about the contradiction between the initial structural engineer and the current structural engineer? I think that could be helpful.
I was actually having trouble hearing.
She said she felt like when you guys came in 22, there was a presentation where said we got a structural engineer and he said the Cotton Building's in great condition, and now we're hearing that the building is essentially like one big poke from falling over.
Right, sure. And we handed out the letter that we got from our structural engineer. David, you want to come up and speak to that? Sure. So I appreciate you speaking. You know, we were doing apartments and we were looking at developing this entire building and redevelopment. As I said, the numbers I gave you were numbers I got in 22. I don't know what it costs today, but I know it costs a lot more than that. I love the buildings, always had. Nothing I like. I didn't want to tear the factory down, but I had to. It had 7-foot ceilings, very soft floors. I hear what you're saying. To a degree, I understand and get what you're getting at, but in reality, in order to provide safety and security, I cannot restore a building that's going to take that much steel, that much down. If the city wants to figure a way to buy it and redo it, I would have that conversation. But I cannot do it. In order to do a quality project here, there's not the funds available. And I think the town see it as well. The engineer ahead of us
didn't say it was in fine shape and ready to go. Because it was not. But it's even more degraded these days, so that's kind of.
Colin, we do have another speaker.
Yes, who's the other? And please state your name and where you live.
Katie, you got to 304 West.
It'll look in line, close to you.
Yeah. Right.
304 West Lee Street.
I think questions about parking. Yeah. It's already, but you said so all the buildings have 2-car garages, but sometimes garages get built stuff. So are there going to be any restrictions on parking on the street? If say you don't have a bunch, sometimes you have a teenager with cars that you have 3 cars and both parents are commuting to work outside of it. So I was wondering if there are any restrictions or on parking. And then for the lot being leased from the Methodist Church, is that just going to be residential parking during the week, and then it'll be restricted on Sunday, which people are home on Sundays, so I didn't know if there was going to be a conflict there. And then I know when this was originally apartments, there was going to be overflow parking in the library. I guess my third question, is there's still going to be overflow.
Doesn't have to answer that. So you're correct. And we came into our first meeting, we learned very closely, we were not going to do the library. We learned that, but we do have a lease. Understand here, there is no quote unquote on-street parking in the inside the project because the way it's designed, we have to have ability for garbage trucks and transportation getting. Amazon's everywhere now, coming through to drive through there. We have to have ability for trucks to get through and to collect garbage and that type of thing. So there is no quote unquote on-street parking, but there are 4 spaces typically assigned to each unit. And there are 2-car garages. And then you have 2 cars can go behind it on the back side, as you can see. To also address, there are some on-street parks. I think. How many total? I think it's 30. 30 on-street parks between Old Street Second and Washington. It'll be on-street parking. And to correct that, Methodist Church is not for the residents. That's for Sarika. Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. I get it. Because you said it wrong. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't have one.
Sure.
Are all the floor plans, all those townhouses, are they all like the same number of bedroom bathrooms? I just thought it was such a, so I live in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, and there seemed like a shortage of those in Mebane, because, and you can see when I was thinking there was a price point, like, those would be comparatively high, but then when you got to more bedrooms, the price would kind of plateau a bit because there was no bottom side. So I was wondering, perhaps we need more smaller houses for maybe I guess started all of this.
Yeah. These sadly today, brand new starter homes for dollars price. But these are all 3-bedroom units. And they're all, the downstairs unit has a full bath inside in the hall. But on the 3rd floor, all units have full ensuite master bedrooms. So there's 2 full master bedrooms on the 3rd floor. And so I hope that addresses it. We are 3 bedrooms. Now, there are 2 bedrooms because many people will use that 1st floor room as an office or a playroom for children or whatever.
3 total or 3.5? You gotta go middle school.
There's no bedrooms in the middle floor. There's a half bath. Yeah, there's a half bath on the
3.5.
3.5 though. For my wife in real estate, they call that 4 these days, but that's still 3.
That my agreement.
You're good. I will say, just for reference, think the pear tree townhomes, I think those may be in the starter home range that you're looking for. I was just noticing their signs and they're advertising under 300,000. It's great. It's one of
I heard that from my daughter too.
Hey, Colin, it looks like we have another speaker.
Oh, do we have one other person who wants to? Oh, yes, please. State name and where you live.
My name is Mike Baptiste. I live in 518 Collins Drive. I've been resident of Mebane 30 years. I've been a downtown business owner for 16. This is a generational opportunity for the city to redevelop, staying downtown. And I think this project is it. The original multi-use proposal has street level retail. This has vague assurances of something happening. This is the townhome community to be built anywhere in that. And an opportunity like this, parcel like this, not present itself probably in more. So I would encourage the board to consider this as a vote. One of the things I didn't hear anyone talk about was the Mebane downtown vision. The downtown vision plan laid out a lot of ideas on how to develop parts of downtown. Townhomes were recommended to go down on Ruffin Street, Grand Street. And this parcel was designed for multi-use on the left, residential on the right. Nobody seems to have taken that into account. One of the other things that's concerning is the fact that the railroad crossings are horrific for pedestrians. There's no accommodations in this plan for any type of work to be done on Third Street. It's not part of their parcel, but again, the downtown vision plan showed multiple concepts on how to improve walkability, because the whole idea of development is to be able to get across the railroad tracks to downtown, and also if there ever is retail on this, to get the other way. One of the things that the downtown business owner, I remember when downtown was it was a ghost town. Nobody there in the weekdays and the weekends. It took residential development, and we finally got the white furniture building developed, and that seemed to start the downtown revitalization. But we've gone down from 368 units to 217 units, and now we're down to 87. To have a vibrant downtown, you need a lot of people within walking distance. Not a lot of parking in most downtowns. So I would like the board to consider that. We've gone from a proposal of 35,000 square feet of commercial space and 150 parking spaces in the downtown vision plan. And now we're going to have a leased lot we can't use on 2 days out of the week for public parking for any retailer to show up. Finally, we waited years for the white furniture building to get developed, get downtown going again. If we have to wait, so be it. I just don't think that this project is going to do for downtown businesses what we hope it will.
Thank you. Go ahead and say your name and where you live.
I'm Nathan Millian. I'm here representing Mebane Properties, which is a multiple property. Just have a couple of questions.
There you go.
Short and terms. Two questions for the developer, the commercial and the retail site. What is the size of each of the sites? Did he say the square footage? Those are building sizes, right?
It says 3,000.
Those are building sizes. I was asking the plan size of the sites. And what I'm trying to find out is, are they going to provide parking on those sites with in conjunction with the development? So it's anticipated that what goes on there will have parking around those buildings.
You stand that
No, you got go to the mics. Okay. There's got to be like 3 or 4 people listening on YouTube.
So now on site there are, I don't recall it. I think there's 2 parking spaces on the left parcel, but that was really for deliveries and things like that. You're not seeing, an architect did that, not an engineer. So, but if anything, so that is why we have the lease space at the church. Sunday morning services, obviously no, and Wednesday nights, obviously. But other than that, we have access to the parking there for both units. I hope that. Yes, sir. Can I see one more?
Yeah, and then actually I've got a couple questions.
So this kind of lady right here had a really good idea, and she said, if you're gonna take the building down, reuse it. So we'll try to figure out a way to reuse some of the building pieces, the bricks.
Yeah, the shutters, I think are right as well.
You like
The cotton building shutters.
the shutters? Yeah. That we have to find a different type of shutter.
So please,
Yeah.
So I did have a couple of questions. The streets inside the development, they are private streets or public? I assume they're private.
They're private right now.
Okay, and they'll be private in perpetuity or?
That's a conversation that we haven't finished with the city on the civil plan. They're private, correct? And they're designed that way because of, we had to get the width for the thing, but it's really not designed for on-street parking. So I don't know if it could really get into the city.
Okay.
But we are paid for the city services and stuff and city trash, recycling, water, sewer.
Okay, and then my second question, and this is actually probably not for you. One of the commenters raised the question of the railroad crossings, and I know there's plans afoot with Norfolk Southern. Can you speak to where those plans are for the improvement of those crossings? I know it's been a while.
Yes, so it's with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, their rail division. As far as I know, we have not received a final set for approval, but there have been discussions, and this, of course, has been going on for many years. Staff has recently shared with the NCDOT that those signals are not working in a way that allows drivers and pedestrians to make safe decisions. I know I often choose to not follow the signal when I'm walking. So we have shared that concern, and we know the timing is difficult because they're having to accommodate one too many intersections in that particular area of Third and Fourth.
That needs to turn first. Sorry, I actually some more scale of it too, at 7 South Third Street. When that can be determined where we proceed with the project and this caliber. DOT approval?
So we can continue to communicate with NCDOT, but they did the traffic study for the previous proposal with more residential units, and it was not a recommendation of their traffic engineer, nor was it a recommendation of DOT when they reviewed it, that happened before the development happened.
Thank you. Those were all the questions that I had. Does anybody else on the board have any questions for Captain? All right.
well, sure.
Yes.
There's that, but you referenced or one of the speakers referenced price points. Do you have a price point in mind for the units based on the lease term?
We do. I think I have to go back and look, but I want to say between 6 and 650.
Towns, if they look like that, the aesthetic, 650.
Yes,
Okay, who's pricing this? I'm a real estate agent. Where's this pricing?
Well,
What do you want to return on your investment? It's like very, it doesn't look like we're trying to be downtown. That is very high price point, respectfully.
For sure.
Yeah.
the interior is very, very outdated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Same time, it seems so sterile and doesn't really go with the aesthetic of our team.
Yeah, I can do that as a conversation. Okay, does the board want to discuss this at all? Does anybody have any thoughts? If there are no thoughts, we can proceed with the motion. Does anybody want to make a motion on this one?
Oh,
You need a mic.
I make a motion to approve the B1 CD zoning as presented. I find that the motion to present the application is consistent with the objectives and goals of the city's 2017 comprehensive land development plan by design. Specifically, the request is for property within the G1 downtown mixed use growth area, encourages a variety of uses in downtown, promotes a village concept that supports compact and walkable environments, and is consistent with growth management goal 1.1. It supports historic downtown Memphis culture by addressing aesthetics, walkability, bikeability, and providing shopping district, dining, and housing options consistent with growth management goal 1.2. It provides pedestrian facilities in the downtown area, supporting growth management goal 1.6, and it provides a mixed use of commercial residential uses consistent with Mebane downtown vision.
That is the motion. Is there a second? We have a second. All in favor of this motion, please raise your hand. All right, that's 5-0. Motion passes. Thank you. I think Judy, I think this will come before the city council
Next Monday.
next Monday. Moving right along with that. Okay.
Done deal. Jordan, put it out. You had your mind made in pretty good. So we had her, you let it out, but they put it to us, you read it every time the same way. And we had this 2 weeks in the last week. We read. And your mind was made up. We read it and we listened to everyone here and we made a vote. It's tough with people talking, to take into consideration, your mind was made up. That is a question you really can make, because you don't have to wait. I'm sorry, it's tough.
Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is a request to establish R8 conditional district zoning on the approximately 16.45 acre property addressed 6600 Lebanon Road for a development consisting of 80 townhomes by D Stone Builders. Mitchell, you're up again.
All right, so round two. All right, so this is a request to establish an R-8 CD. Again, that CD is conditional districts. Excuse me, conditional district, zoning district by D Stone Buildings. All right, so a little bit more, so basically, so the site itself is 16.45 acres. And so just one thing to note about this right over here is that it currently is within Orange County. So as y'all see right over here, I don't know how what the laser is, but where it says Mebane ETJ right over here. All right, thank you. Basically, this ETJ city limits. Outside the ETJ, Orange County. So essentially, so it's currently zoned R1 in Orange County. And then the requested zoning is R-8 conditional district. All right, so as you can see here, it is currently located just outside of Mebane's ETJ or extraterritorial jurisdiction. So one thing to note is that annexation is required before council action on the zoning request. All right, so just some of the existing uses so it's single family residential and forested. Just a little bit more clarification for that. Forested is at one time it was forested. Thank you. All right. So anyways, though, so some single uses include single family residential, agricultural, and forested. So just a little bit more right over here. So kind of getting back to that Mebane by design, and of course, the importance, of course, always double checking with our comprehensive plan. So as you can see right over here, it is within the secondary growth area, but also part of the property sits within the conservation area over here in green. Now, just one thing, just a bit of a caveat with the conservation area. So the conservation area was based on the contiguous contiguous tree cover at the time that Mebane by design, the comprehensive plan was adopted. Now, so just a little bit more. So this right over here is, so it's also known as Abilene Village is the proposed name of the proposed development. So it is an 80-unit townhome development with private recreation at approximately 2 acres. So that includes a dog park, pocket park, play area, and outdoor grills. And then for the private the open space, that actually currently as proposed exceeds the required 1.35 acres. In terms of public recreation, there is a 10-foot multi-use path beyond the property frontage to connect to Havenstone. Again, that is part of the, just building up that multi-use path, or that multi-use network throughout the city. And then another thing too, so no TIA is required. And there are also no improvements are proposed on Lebanon Road, which is located right over here. All right, now I will pass it on over to the applicant.
Thank you very much. My name is Mike Fox. I'm an attorney also with the Tuggle Duggins firm in Greensboro, 400 Belmead Street, Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm here representing the applicant. In this case tonight, it is D Stone Builders and Dwight Stone, who is the D Stone and D Stone Builders, is here with me tonight, along with various project managers and such to answer questions if they come up. So your staff, as always, does a great job summarizing everything. I'm not going to repeat, the things that they've summarized, but obviously they've done a good job of describing the current zoning, the request for annexation, and requested zoning for new zoning in the city of Mebane, and the proposed use, which is 80 townhomes. Property background, this property is under contract with Mr. Gary Edwards, who grew up in the area, longtime resident, and will continue to be an adjacent property owner, and attended our neighborhood meeting as well. Expressed his feeling that he was very careful about who he was willing to sell this property to, given the quality of the development. So we did have a neighborhood meeting, and on July 9th, we mailed out letters to all the neighbors within 300 feet of the property. And we had 5 neighbors who attended. It was a Zoom meeting, primarily residents from the adjacent Sunset Ridge community. And we've had some additional phone calls and emails with other neighbors. Some of the questions were primarily related to buffering and how far back the homes would be from the property lines, and just general questions about what was as well. So we did cover the staff covered the site plan a little bit. There will be community amenities that were covered by the staff, including the 2 acres of private recreation space, dog park, pocket park, play area, outdoor grills, which is more than 1.35 acres required. And I'm going, and in regards to the public recreation space, I'll speak to that in just a minute, but I would like to invite Dwight Stone up to come now and talk a little bit about the specifics about the site plan and the product that he plans to provide you.
Dwight Stone, 2904 Lawndale Drive in Greensboro. Thank you for hearing us tonight. I am a 3rd generation builder. My son is with the company, of course he's 4th. We've been in business since right after the Depression. My grandfather was a farmer in the summer and a builder in the winter, so he could feed his family. this is a great site that we are asking for annexation and zoning for the city of Mebane. The townhomes that we're proposing are between 1,750 and 2,200 square feet. So they're fairly large townhomes from a townhome concept. The interior homes have a one-car garage. The exterior homes have a two-car garage and a main bedroom on the first floor. We think that we have designed a site with plenty of space. Most of the setbacks on the perimeter are at least 40 feet. I think the closest townhome that we have to the perimeter of neighboring properties is probably in the 50 to 60 foot. As you can tell from the site plan. These homes are going to be constructed. We have done one neighborhood in Mebane previously. It was Canaan, which is right across from, I think it's Eastern Alamance High School. And that was a very successful project. It was a residential, more of a single family residential project, very successful. We completely built out there and look forward to developing this forward.
Questions? I did want to talk a little bit about Mebane by design because y'all have very thorough and well-planned future land use plan, and it is designated as Secretary of Growth and Conservation. Obviously, Mebane is growing, and it has been growing into Orange County for some time, and staff report does a good job of pointing out all the ways that that this project meets the Mebane by design goals, provides attractive and quality housing opportunities, supports connectivity, communities and subdivisions through the Greenway Trail, which I'll talk about that in just a minute. Positions appropriate housing density where to be supported by existing infrastructure, and it's designed as a conservation low impact development with almost 11 acres to remain impervious. So we do feel like it does meet the plan, and an important part of that, the transportation plan, there were not enough trips to trigger a TIA requirement. So very low impact there on traffic. But importantly, Mr. Stone does plan to build out a multi-use path that would extend that for these residents and any other residents that are in that area. And staff has been great to work with on that. The multi-use path does require some right-of-way acquisition, which he does not control necessarily, so staff has not an alternative number of a fee and lieu for some reason. It's the point where he can't get that last piece of right-of-way, but he does have an option to do a fee and lieu to give the money to the town so that they can do it at some point if they would like. We really appreciate this has been, as I think you noted in the staff report, I think it was the through TRC 5 times officially. And so we've had a lot of good changes here. We're not asking for any variances. There are additions, but we think this is a good project and will add to the options that folks who want to live in Mebane will have in terms of housing. Certainly, we do have a housing crisis in the whole country, and not only just Mebane and North Carolina as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and Mr. Stone is happy to answer any questions as well.
Are there questions at this time from the board for the applicant? I know we're going to do, there's more coming, but hold on. Are there any questions? Right this second?
As your exterior units do have a bedroom on the bottom floor, correct? I believe Mr. Stone stated they did.
Yes, sir.
That's great. Because people our age don't like steps.
Yes, sir. And those are 2 stories.
Right. We don't mind steps for our kids, but we don't stay.
I understand.
Can you talk to me a little bit about the multi-use path? So it's kind of a quirky situation because the path goes out, so the path starts at Lake Michael on if you're leaving Mebane, the right side. And I think it then jumps over to the left side of the road for Havenstone. And then it's kind of ambiguous as to what it's going to do from there. So can you speak to like what he has to get the easements, he doesn't have them, but he would get them if the plan were approved, is that right?
So, Ashton, do you want to jump in here a little bit with the path? I mean, we've basically followed the lead of the staff in terms of the requests of how to do that.
So the multi-use path is shown along the frontage of the property subject to the rezoning. But the majority that would be constructed offsite is across the road. So it would be on the same side as Havenstone, limiting it to one crosswalk at the development's entrance.
Okay, so it's crossing Lebanon before it gets to Havenstone, and then it's crossing Lebanon again after it leaves, at some point after it leaves.
Yes, it does go through the retreat at Lake Michael, so there's a crossing there already.
But what was contingent on right of way? Do you have the right of way to do this from Havenstone to your property, or is there still some right of way that you need to do that? I think you said you had to get some, correct?
We do. We have talked to the affected property owners, and I think we have a consensus on it, but we're not all the way there yet as far as all.
Okay, can we get comments? It's not a public hearing, but comments are welcome. I've got 3 people signed up, and certainly if there's time, we can invite others. Whit Watson, are you here? Yes.
Trying to put this back up there.
Can you give your name and where you live?
I'm Whit Watson. I live at 2119 Doe Run, the other extreme end where this project is going to intersect. Most of my comments have to do with Lebanon Road. I'm really surprised that there wasn't a traffic impact study, because with 80 townhomes, 2 cars, perhaps 3, that seems like a lot of vehicles coming and going. And the number that was put in the report seemed like that was 1 trip each way for every car. So that's a little surprising. The other question has to do with the alignment with Doe Run. That looks like that's going to ultimately become a 4-way stop, because it's hard to see the sight lines along Lebanon, that intersection. Go that way a lot, so I know. And I'm also curious about what the impact would be on the speed limit along there if DOT or Mebane will reduce the speed limit even further east along Lebanon. Landscaping along Lebanon, what is that going to look like? There is a reference to Mebane's requirement, but there's no specifications about kinds of plants, trees, shrubs, whatever. And particularly since it's going to be public space, a recreation space one side and the dog park on the other, that seems like that would be something you might want to consider. The parking issue, somebody has already alluded to that. 100 cars, maybe 200 cars. Not every unit is going to have 2-car access. So where all those cars can park. And I guess the other question, this is really for the city of Mebane, is will the residents who live along Lebanon have access to sewer and water that's going to be passing right along their right of way?
Thank you. Charlie, do you want to address this question right away, or we can wait? You guys want to wait? You'll wait. Okay. Charlie Troutman, are you here? Yeah, we just bring like you.
Baggage.
First of all, I'd like to say something about the landowner, Gary Edwards.
Can you just say your name again and where?
I'm sorry. My name is Charles Troutman, and I live at 1601 Doe Run Road. I'd like to say something about the current owner, Gary Edwards. We were good friends with his mother, Pearl Edwards, who owns that property, owned that property. And during her lifetime, there's a reason why all that land was never developed. She never wanted to see it developed. And as soon as her son got hold of it, he harvested the timber, and then he decided that he wanted to basically sell it. He is a landowner, but he is an absentee landowner that lives in Fayetteville. So he has no interest in what happens to this land. Just wanted to make that known. And I'd like to read something that I have prepared. Let me start my comments by first applauding the advisory board's efforts in conjunction with the fellow community members in developing the preferred proposal for the Mebane 2045 comprehensive development plan. My wife and I worked and saved for years before moving from our starter home in eastern Orange County until we could afford to build our forever home on a large plot of land in rural western Orange County, where we have resided for almost 30 years now. One drive down South Fifth Street in the spring of 1995, and we were hooked on Mebane. We chose to live where we live on our large lot because of the large lot sizes, the non-cookie cutter homes that surround us. Now, imagine you lived on South Fifth Street neighborhood and an out-of-town developer buys up 3 or 4 contiguous lots along Fifth Street and wants to put up 6 or 8 nondescript townhomes. I don't think that would fly in the neighbors there. And it's the same in our rural area of Orange County. An 8-unit townhome development does not fit the current or proposed future land use plan for this area. I look at the developer's proposal plan and I see that this plot of forest land in Orange County has no utilities other than electricity. There is no water and no sewer running up to or past this property. Let me repeat, there is no water and no sewer available for this property.
Mr. Troutman, that's your time. Do you want to give the last sentence?
The developer's proposal claims this project can be supported by existing infrastructure. That is just not true.
Thank you. Mr. Frank, John Frank?
Can buy about like that.
Yeah.
Time right now.
We'll go in order and there's more. Yeah, Mr. Frank? Yeah. Just say what your address is and what your name is.
Sure. My name is John Frank. I live at 1519 Doe Run Road. We own the farm directly across the street that was labeled as AS, I believe, one of the first lines. In researching this, it's difficult for me to see how this makes sense. The piece of property is not contiguous, it'd be an island. Talk about corridors. It's kind of difficult for me to see that. It's not consistent with the area, single family homes, even in the new developments just down the street versus high density development in that particular part of that side of the town just seems out of place to me. It makes you ask why. Why are we doing this? Does that benefit us locals that live there? Or is that benefiting developers or the city who can have a bigger tax base? And what do we as non-city members get from having all this extra infrastructure, traffic, potential hassle as we're living there? It's difficult for me to see that we get a benefit from that ourselves. I think there's safety issues, there's traffic issues. Schools are going to continue to be overburdened, pay for that later on. I think what I want to end with though is that I don't live and we don't live within the city of Mebane boundaries. We can't vote for you guys or anybody else. Yet leadership can come in our backyard and say that this becomes that. We have no recourse. All we can do is come to these things and talk passionately about why we live here, why we think that Mebane is perfectly charming, and the fact we don't live in Cary, which is kind of what I feel like we're inching towards. Nothing against Cary and Mebane, but I don't want to hear. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, if other folks would like to speak, please. Jay. Please give your name and where you live.
My name is Tenley Perry Troutman. I live 1601 Doe Run Road. From our cumulative comments. I see in the 2017 comprehensive plan that the proposed area is earmarked as conservation. I quote from the plan: conservation areas should be maintained by permitting low-density developments featuring open space, recreation, etc., will remain undeveloped for the next 15 years. Then in the proposed 2045 comprehensive development plan, this plot is listed as rural living or open space conservation and as a rural crossroads community. I don't see where rezoning this land to RACD would fit in with any of these designations. If you disagree, why waste community members' time and effort to come up with a plan for the future land use? You're violating open space, designated land before the plan is even. Now, as to the developer's plan itself, by their own words on their website, builders profess themselves as a premier custom builder. So why do they propose to build what the kindest way I can describe the size of this is detailless. I've looked online at their website, prior multifamily development, Jordan Creek, they built, and I can tell you they can and have built more attractive custom living detailed family developments. I am not interested in the Orange County side of Mebane becoming the place in Mebane to go to build, find cheap looking housing that won't stand the test of time, weather like phase 3 next. I also don't think people who can't afford more expensive housing will appreciate being forced to live further away from the amenities a town like Mebane provides and easy access to interstates. They're most likely route to work. Build more about affordable housing closer to where people have easy, close access to amenities and their commuting routes. If it's inevitable that something will be built on this land, why not build something that adds to the community of existing customers on larger than average lots, rather than jamming the first 80 unit nondescript multifamily development into this rural portion? Request that you make a motion to deny this reason.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I'm Bob Hartford. It's a fairly simple request of the planning board.
Where do you live? Where do you live?
I have the property I own is on Sunset Drive, which adjoins the subdivision plan. If the planning board should approve the subdivision, I would request that they take into consideration upsizing the sewer outfall and water supply to include accommodation for the relatively large number of lots in the Sunset subdivision, because you're going to leapfrog right by that. And to provide some means for water and sewer to be extended into that existing property. In other words, it would be a disservice to the residents of the Sunset subdivision that essentially devalue their property if water and sewer leapfrogged by it and it was impossible to get it attached.
Thank you. Anyone else from the community? Yes.
Good evening, my name is Sally Merriman. I live on Daniels Farm Road. Not too far from Joe Run and the property in question. So, I lived on Daniels Farm Road for 21 years, and I moved from suburban Boston, where the plots of land are a quarter acre or less. My husband came from the Cleveland area, also a quarter acre or less. We chose to live in the country for a reason. We are fortunate right now that there's a church and a cemetery in our backyard. So we are not overly concerned about encroachment on our property proper. But we are very concerned about the number of neighborhoods that have been built on Lebanon Road since we have lived there. This particular development would be the sixth one since 2004. The ETJ is getting bigger. We don't want the ETJ to come any further toward us, to destroy the single family homes, the bigger plots, the smaller community type feel. And we have some serious concerns about the traffic, how the DOT could say, and any kind of traffic analysis could say that there is no need for a turn lane. They don't drive that road. It's very clear. Havenstone has 3 different right turn lanes going toward town. So the other neighborhoods on the other side, they have right turn lanes. I saw a man get killed by a car that hit him on his bike 15 years ago, and I will never get it out of my mind. It is insane that a 45 mile an hour traffic limit that people often don't follow, especially locals. 55 miles an hour on that road, and they hit a cyclist on that road, it's all over for them. It's scary that there's no plan for any kind of turn lanes. And then I had a couple of questions. What are the price point of these homes? What are the HOA fees? And will they be owner occupied or will they be rentals? All of those things are of concern as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes.
Hi, my name is Jill Frank. I live at 1519 Doe Run Road. My husband just spoke as well. A couple of questions primarily. One, I agreed with everybody who's spoken so far. This area is rural residential. That's what we like. When you start being hide and seek in here, it's completely changing the immediate community feel. I do have a couple of questions. The dog park, is that fenced? We have horses in which we have high pencil electric fencing. Dogs getting in can be a big risk for the dogs, crossing the road, getting hit, as well as they could be a risk to our horses. So, you know, I have some concerns there. The walking path coming through, I realized that we want to have more ability to walk around town. However, that brings a lot of foot traffic to our farm that we will cause safety issues both to people and our animals. So the other question I will reiterate is, what does the landscaping around this? I don't want to look at these buildings. And most likely we saw the front. What is the back? Because if you look at this from street view, we're seeing the backs and the sides. Those units small. Thank you.
Thanks, real quick. What kind of animals do you have?
We have horses, we have sheep, we have chickens, dogs, cats. Let's see.
You got baby house.
We have pigs, goats, we kind of have everything, but. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience?
I'm Paul Palumbo. I'm in the property directly to the east from this subdivision or development. I see it looks like we have 3 stormwater lagoons on the development there. Is that correct?
needs to be.
And when we have a hard rain like we did a month ago, what's gonna keep these from overflowing into my property? And are you guys gonna pay for my flood insurance on my property? Because it's not covered normally. We just saw Lake Michael flood a month ago, and you're wanting to put more asphalt and rooftops. I don't see where all this other water's gonna go. You're not gonna widen the road for turn lanes, is that correct? Whenever every other development has a turn lane, and if you do that, just where the property coming? Because I'm not gonna be getting mine. I don't think, I moved from Durham, 1988 to Lebanon Road to get out of this, and now you're putting it in my side yard. Appreciate it. You send letters to 300 feet of this development. In the country, that's one piece of property. My property is approximately 280 feet across front. So you'd have to contact my neighbor, but the 3 houses up, doesn't matter. And then you also have to be a landowner to be notified about this. There's people renting that don't even know about this meeting because they don't matter because they're not a landowner, which is kind of like what you did in the 1800s. Thank you. I'm against development.
Clarification, right? Thank you. Does anybody else like to speak? Okay. Oh, yes, sorry. Rebuttal.
Absolutely. I'm trying to remember all the questions. I was checking some notes, but there were a lot of them. And feel free to prompt me if I miss one, but, we, as I indicated earlier, we've been through TRT 5 times, and, your staff does a great job of making sure that, you know, all the regulations are complied with. We can park if that was a question. There's no concern about that from the staff, our engineers, there's no concern. The stormwater, you know, will be designed such that no stormwater will leave the site. That's required. You have to have an engineer put his seal on it and you know, verify that according to their professional, you know, standards, it's designed appropriately. The traffic, the other subdivisions that were mentioned were much larger. That's why they generated a traffic study and potentially some improvements. It's DOT has a formula and a standard, and you rise above a certain number, then you have to do a study and determine whether or not any improvements are made. You're below a certain number, you don't have to. That we fell below that number with this number. Landscaping and buffering will be aligned with city requirements. We don't have the specifics of what particular trees that would be right now. That's not normally something you do upfront, but we will work with the staff and we will meet, you know, all the requirements that your ordinance has. Miss anything to one? Oh, the dog area is fenced, so.
How tall fence or how tall the fence gonna be?
I would suspect it's at least 3 feet.
My dog jumped 3 feet.
This, we're proposing to bring this into the city.
Correct.
And dogs in the city have to be on the leash. Do they? Do they?
They're only on public land.
Only in public.
Yeah.
On private land, they don't have some. Yes. That's the question.
Yeah. You know, in summary, I would say, I know, you know, change is hard anywhere. North Carolina as a state is the 3rd fastest growing state in the country behind Texas and Florida. And I know that there are pros and cons to that. But I always like to think that the same reason that I like to live in North Carolina and everybody in this room likes to live in North Carolina, other people are figuring out what we've had for a long time. They want to be here with us, and they're going to keep coming regardless. I think Mebane has done an excellent job over the last 20 years of managing a lot of growth. You have a good staff, you have good ordinances and future land use plans in shape. You make people go through the hurdles of figuring all these things out before they get to this. And so I would compliment you for your process and your staff. And so a development like this is pretty vetted out from a technical point of view before it even gets in front of a board like this. The staff has determined that this could comply with all the requirements. It's appropriate use and recommended. We are going to need more housing, not only in North Carolina, but in this area. I understand, historically, Orange County and large parts of Orange County have been more rural, but Mebane has grown into Orange County in the last 20 years, and I think that will continue. And I think it is possible to preserve, a rural feel, but have more density. And I think a project like this is a good example. You're actually preserving more open space, but you're getting denser housing. You're providing more housing opportunities, but you're still preserving a significant amount of open space, which gives that feel for less intensive areas. I think this is a good plan for this site. It's a good fit for the city of Mebane, and I'll request recommend approval.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One person asked Mr. Stone about how the back of the units would look. They made a comment about that. Would you like to address that?
Yes, sir. Thank you. They'll have all of the units will have rear porches on them. There'll be some patios for each one. They'll be in the same design as you saw on the front. It's continued all the way over.
And then is there something?
Another question about the price point.
Okay, yeah.
Price point is mid-3s to mid-4s.
That's fine.
This one more thing in terms of the company, I'm trying to remember, if you don't have any road, nothing possible.
We were a builder in Macintosh and the like, but didn't do any development.
Builder, Silvac or county.
We built in Macintosh on the Lake, we built single family.
Thank you. So I have a question for staff. Did you more? You're good? We're good? Okay. I have a question for staff. So it says in here, as allowed by the Mebane UDO, the city engineer is recommending waiver of the turn lane requirement listed in section 7-65F. Can you clarify that? Is it the case that Mebane's UDOs would require a turn lane here, but you're suggesting it be waived?
Article 7 of our UDO is subdivision regulations, which this is a proposal for subdivision of land, so Article 7 applies. The section that's being referenced there says that turn lanes should be provided if there are 50 or more units, and that requirement can be waived by the city engineer. The North Carolina Department of Transportation completed a turn lane warrant analysis. We consult with them when it is their road that is being maintained, which Lebanon Road is under their authority. And they found that no turn lanes were necessary or warranted by this development. And so the city engineer used that information to make his analysis.
And the way that this is worded, is it correct that the city engineer is recommending that the city council sort of affirmatively waive that requirement when they're approving it? Is that?
Since this is a rezoning, it will ultimately be a council decision to issue a waiver.
Okay, they have to issue the waiver. I have a question for the developer. If hypothetically, the city council didn't issue the waiver and said, no, we are requiring a turn lane, would you agree? Would you go, how would that affect the project?
That's a difficult one to answer because when you go through the process, you go through 5 TRCs, you get a pretty fine-tuned site plan. And if we were to have to find land on one side of the road or the other, it would be almost, we'd have to start from scratch almost. So I really can't answer that at this point. Once you get an answer that, yes, we're not going to require this, then you start engineering. So it would be very challenging. I did want to address one other thing too. Apologize that I forgot this. We are, extending the utilities, water and sewer, and we will install, up to whatever point the city requires their standard that, size that they require, and then we'll have a smaller line into the subdivision. So it would obviously be a choice of the city of Mebane, but that water and sewer would be potentially available to other users along the line if, and I don't know what the city's policy is about, do you have to be do you have to be in the city?
You sure do.
Yep. That would obviously be a choice for property owner to do voluntary annexation if they wanted water. So very difficult to do involuntary steps.
Right. And just to clarify, my recollection from reading a plan you have in front of me, the long range utility plan calls for it to be 12-inch water going out there, I think, is that right? Or the 8 and 12-inch sewer?
I have to confirm, but we do have within the technical memo by our city engineer that we have an oversizing policy. We require it to be over what would be their development. The city would reimburse those costs.
So 12 water and 10 sewer.
Yeah.
One more.
Okay, yeah, let's. Sure, one more. Do one more, and then I think we'll go to board discussion.
Question come up, we have for live stream.
This is just an FYI. If this is approved, be prepared for a tragic traffic accident. If you come to that property, I live on Doe Run Road. 15 years ago, Doe Run Road was gravel. It's now paved. If you come at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, it's peaceful, there's not much traffic. However, and I know this for a fact, many of the people who work in Durham, down Lebanon Road, cross Doe Run Road, to hit Mill Creek, to get onto 86 and go north to Danville. Without a stoplight or something there, you're going to have a tragic accident because they do not observe the speed limit. They pass on a double line. I've seen accidents happen there. You're looking at the disaster. You're either looking at a stoplight or a bad accident.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, sorry, what was your name and address, please?
Jan Boyd Grant,
And where do you have?
1603 Doe Run Road,
Thank you.
Mebane.
Thank you. Thanks for everybody for accommodating me.
I did have one question.
What's your question?
The lawyer from Greensboro said that these storm water lagoons will not overflow. On July 6th, just about every stormwater lagoon in our area overflowed. There were teams of engineers 2 days later, all out there scratching their heads, trying to figure what was wrong. So, and I don't know how a Greensboro lawyer can say what's right for our community here in Mebane.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your recommendation.
I've got some discussion, but I want to know if so we gotta pull this to a close.
It's quick. It's very quick.
What is it, real quick? Putting you on a 1-minute timer.
Betty Cross.
Where do you live?
Pardon?
Where's your address?
Yes, I own a property on Sundown Drive, which is in the Sunset Ridge subdivision right next door. So is it possible that the city would annex this tract and leapfrog across Sunset Ridge? Or would they annex everything up to current?
Sure. So I can actually say that. So this is being proposed as what's called a non-contiguous or a satellite annexation. So that's where the city just creates a little enclave or a pocket of Mebane in the middle of Orange County. Sometimes you can do annexations that are inside your ETJ. This one would be outside the ETJ, and it's just that one pocket. So between there and Mebane would be true Orange County.
So adjacent property will not be annexed to
So the city has a policy that they never do involuntary annexations. No, not.
so then these residents in Sunset will not be able to tie into city water or sewer.
They would have to get annexed. They would have to request an annexation for themselves.
And if they did, what's the tie-in fee for city water or sewer?
Because I don't work for Public Works, I can't.
Can somebody find that out and let us know?
We have a fee schedule published on our website.
It's on the website.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
And they could annex, but they could hook on the water sewer, but they have to pay double rates unless they're.
We require a petition. It could be an annexation agreement or actual annexation. That would be determined depending on how many people in the neighborhood are interested.
Thank you.
Can I have one more question? So when you development of this, does that open other property up? More likely development?
That is a question of interpretation and it's good. We can't answer that, but I'm gonna talk about something kind of related. Is there discussion from the board? I've got stuff to say, other people have stuff to say. I really want this one to be kind of a dialogue. Okay. Yeah, do you wanna?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you hear me okay?
No.
No.
How about now?
Hey.
All right, wonderful. One of the questions I had a bit, I think this might speak to sort of Paul. Yeah. Paul brought up. I noticed here that the product lies in an area where up to 30% can be built upon. Looking at this, I think it's on the right now, if you can zoom in, this project has about 29.9%, if I was reading it correctly, as built upon area. Now, the 30% was there for a reason. It was sure created by a variety of things, I believe in 2007. Things can change from 2007 to 2025, I would imagine. Obviously, the storm is very, very recent in the rear view. Yes, this may not be like Lake Michael Way or Broad Drive, where evacuations had to happen, but it is also a stone's throw from Lake Michael Park. Part of my question just comes in with that percentage, especially given recent storm and issues that can be created by it or something similar. We've had a handful of 1,000-year floods the last year or 2 years. Is there a value in shifting down from a number that comes up very close to the ceiling, as opposed with past that?
Yeah, I would go back to the answer that he gave when I asked about the turn lane, which is like potentially, but they would really have to go back to the drawing board. This is the kind of thing where there's momentum to this. They've gotten this far. I think they're going to want to either shoot for the approval, or if it gets rejected, then they would go back and change the design. But they're still going to want you to whatever the requirement is.
May I speak to that requirement?
Yes.
Yeah, so the 30% that you see on that site plan is because this property and most property in North Mebane is in a protected water supply watershed district. So they cannot go over 30%. If this project is approved and these townhomes are built, there is no wiggle room in terms of someone wanting to expand their driveway or add to their patio. They have to follow these rules. They're coming down from the state for local governments to follow. Regarding the stormwater devices, a flood study is required by the city of Mebane to determine what is the proper storm event to plan for. So the minimum requirement is a 10-year storm. We do not see that often being what is built out. We sometimes see 25 years, sometimes 100 years.
Did you have any more?
No, not in particular. I think I understand the purpose of the 30. I was just curious about building up so close to this potential ceiling that's imposed there. What is, and again,
You got a ceiling, you can go to it. There's no law that says you can't get to it.
right,
Are you gonna change the ceiling? You're gonna go there through the whole process. It was there for a reason.
so
They're building up to, they're building legal. So if they're building legal, we can't say any more about it, Colin. I mean, they're building legal along what it is, so we got to kind of stop where the line has been drawn. You want to move the line, move it, but it's been drawn. They're going to the line or below the line. Case closed.
I think you're taking what I'm saying as like having an issue with the number 30. That's not my concern. I'm just mentioning that the number here is very close up to it, still absolutely within guidance. Is there any concern?
No.
Okay.
They got to it. They didn't go over.
Okay. So part of the mandate of this board is to examine zoning amendments and determine whether they're consistent with the comprehensive plan and any other officially adopted plan that's applicable. And actually, that kind of speaks to what Mr. Common, you're talking about the 2045 plan. Why did we go to all the trouble? It's important to note that plan is still a draft. I can look at it, I can think about it. I'm not supposed to make any decisions based on it. It hasn't come to this board yet. When it comes to this board, I'm going to have some critiques about it. It hasn't gone to the city council. I seriously hope they have some critiques about it. If it just sails through these boards without edits, that's really bad. But it's worth noting that we can only go with the plans that have been adopted by the city. Now, so let's consider what the comprehensive plan says about this kind of development. So this parcel is, as has been mentioned, it's located in the G4 secondary growth area. So it seems like a lot of you have looked at the plan. If you have your plan in front of you, I'm on page 66, you can read along with me. But here's what the comp plan says about this area. Or it says about the G4 secondary growth area. It says, quote, "These are all areas where the city is interested in supporting growth, but will be less focused on actively serving them with new infrastructure necessary for concentrated developments. Extension of new services to these areas should be considered with calculation on the costs and benefits of new infrastructure. Long-term maintenance of civic infrastructure is a significant long-term investment by any city, and one that's often under-regarded in new development projects. Historically, only the immediate costs of the infrastructure are considered, but the long-term maintenance needs of roads, water, sewer, stormwater infrastructure, municipal service costs like police, fire, and trash collection." I'd also quote from Mebane's official voluntary annexation policy, which says, quote, "The city council has the right to accept or deny voluntary annexation as the city council determines that it is in the best interest of the city and the city can provide a majority of consistent city service to." Now, I'm not suggesting that this body's in a position to decide what is in the best interest of Mebane. If anybody here wants to do that, then you need to go file some paperwork at the board. But it would be irresponsible not to consider that this site plan, these townhomes, this entire rezone, as you mentioned, it's not possible unless Mebane agrees to extend our water and sewer, our trash pickup, our police and fire protection. This applicant is asking Mebane and its citizens to dedicate resources to the future residents of Abilene Village. And according to the comprehensive plan, it is legitimate for us to worry about what it will cost to do that. And I think it'll cost a lot. This parcel is over 4 miles away from the public works depot. So that means extra miles on city's trash trucks, leaf trucks, extra time on the clock for sanitation employees. This parcel is 2.5 miles from the nearest fire station. So that means extra miles on the fire trucks. We just went through a whole thing with the budget where the fire budget is growing very rapidly. And this is going to put pressure on the fire department's ISO rating because now you've got a bunch of additional people living 4 or 5 minutes away from the station. Talk about water and sewer now. It is true. This parcel lies directly on the route designated by the city for future extension of water and sewer service in its long-range utility plan, which came out last year. If you look at that plan, there's maps. The maps show what we expect in the next 10 years, what we expect in the next 25 years. If the water and sewer lines going out Lebanon Road in this direction, past Havenstone, that does not appear in the 10-year plus capital improvement map. In fact, it doesn't appear until you get to Appendix D, where it is labeled as 2050 long-range improvements. So just to be clear, in a plan that the city approved last year, it said that it didn't expect to run utility lines out here, possibly for another 25 years. And that's probably how long it's going to take us to pay off the cost of the emergency repairs to the water treatment plant. Weeks. I'm also concerned about the fact that this parcel is located not just beyond city limits, but also beyond the orange ETJ. I know one of the commenters said that the ETJ keeps expanding. In Orange County, it doesn't. If there's a moratorium, we cannot, the Orange County will not agree to any expansions of the ETJ. So what that means is that this little enclave of Mebane would be surrounded potentially for decades by Orange County rural and agricultural zone. Now, right across the street is Windy Bottom Farms. Windy Bottoms Farm. Get that right. Okay. It is zoned as agricultural services. I understand they sell meat and eggs. That, yeah. Do the roosters crow all night? Maybe they do. Is the smell of horse manure going to drift across Lebanon Road when they're in the Abilene Village or trying to enjoy their private recreation space, which is right there on the road? Maybe. Will the city be able to do anything about it if the residents complain? No, absolutely not. So I don't, as it's set, as a site plan sitting there on a board, I don't have any problem with the density described. I don't have a problem with the little private roads or setbacks, anything internal to the subdivision. But my interpretation of the city's plans and policies here, and that's what we've been asked to do, is that extending the water lines, sewer lines, sidewalks, I didn't even talk about like this sidewalk, which is jumping back and forth across this road. Extending the trash collection, extending the fire protection to 80 homes in this location, at this distance from the service locations that exist in this city at this time, when we've been asked to think carefully about the long-term cost of that infrastructure. I am not sure this is consistent with the long-term plans of politics. Maybe in 10 years, maybe in 20 years. I don't think it's consistent today. And my question for the board, and I really do want to know what you guys think, is it within our mandate to be thinking, number one, to be thinking about the cost of the infrastructure? Traditionally, that is not something I think the board has considered, but it's right there in the plan. And also, do we think about, is this development time, right? Like, there's always, for any point in Mebane, there was a time when it was rural, and now it's developed. There was a time that was right for that area to get developed. I feel like we are jumping ahead in time with this, based on what's around it, based on where the sewer infrastructure is. Is it coming too soon? I want to hear more things.
Focusing on that. I live there, tracking on that road is terrible. Apparently with water and working. It's too much.
Anybody on the far side with? Is there any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, I would make a motion to deny the R8 rezoning as presented due to a lack of harmony with the surrounding land use, specifically the AS zone across the street, and due to a lack of consistency with the objectives and goals in the city's 2017 Comprehensive Land Development Plan, amended by design. Is there a second? All those in favor? All those opposed? You have to vote. You have to vote. If you don't vote, it's affirmative.
I know. Okay, I don't vote as affirmative.
If you don't vote, it's counted as.
Oh, yes.
Okay, the vote is 5-0 with answers. All right, thank you. That's the end of that. They'll go to city council. Next Monday. Next one. All right.
Yeah.
Lost.
It's a few announcements. Yeah, so we'll send an update to the planning board.
Maybe that would be under just a couple of minutes.
We'll send an update to the planning board. We talked about this in June, but a few of you are out that we have adjusted the December meetings because of a change for council meeting in December. We, of course, at this time do not know if we'll have anything on the agenda. And then hopefully this week, you'll see some things pop up over email, social media about public review of the Mebane 2045 draft plan. And you all will receive your initial presentation on August 11th.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Back in this, are we back in the city council? We checked 10-1? No, we're here again. Okay. Motion to adjourn. Yes. I like it. Second. All in favor, ready to return. Yeah.